Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Canada, like other countries of the world, has a curious problem. The populist policies bid goodbye to the economic sense. And who suffers? Ultimately, the country, the people. We have seen that the budget deficits and increasing debts have become a habit with the politicians, and especially so in Canada. The deficits and the increasing budget always creates a problem in the long run, though temporarily they might catch votes. And it creates a major serious challenge both at the federal level and the provincial level. Since 2007, combined federal and provincial net debt, inflation adjusted, because the prices have gone up. So naturally the debt level also goes up. So financially has roughly doubled in 2007-8 financial year. The federal and the provincial debt was $1.1 trillion. And now this year is likely to be, is projected by the government itself at $2.1 trillion. Now imagine a country with a huge debt, public debt. 37 million is the population and $2.1 trillion is the debt. So each child who is born is under millions of dollars of debt. This is not only the present generation, but the coming generations have been mortgaged because of the incompetence and the populist policies, which doesn't make sense. And curiously, look at the provinces. British Columbia debt is 61%. Alberta 44%, Saskatchewan 52%, New Brunswick 87%, Ontario 86%, and that's the richest. Quebec 88%, Newfoundland 88%, Prince Edward Islands 86%, Nova Scotia 93%. The best is Alberta still. And Alberta is always treated as a stepchild of the Federation. And they justify the people when they are angry with the federal government that it takes for granted. Between 2019-20 year, that is the year before the COVID, and 2022-23, the combined federal provincial debt to GDP ratio, total GDP and debt, it was 65.7% before the COVID. And now it is 74.6%. Moreover, the federal and the provincial governments are on the track to have collectively accumulated $395.9 billion in total net debt between 2019 to 2022. And it has increased in these 2 years by 23.4%. And this is net, not gross. So imagine, then, among, as I told you, among the provinces, Nova Scotia has the highest combined federal provincial debt to GDP ratio, 92.6%. And Nova Scotia is not highly populated, and yet it's there. Alberta has the lowest, 43.5%. Now, if Alberta can have half of Nova Scotia, what's wrong? Newfoundland and Labrador are the highest combined debt per person. Per person is 64,579. Each human being, each Canadian living in Newfoundland and Labrador has a debt burden of 64,579. This is shocking. And this only shows wrong policies, nothing else. Now, and they are closely followed by Ontario. In Ontario, each individual has a burden of 59,773. In contrast, Alberta has a total debt per person at 42,950. So, there is something wrong in the state of Denmark. Let's be fair, they're stinking. Now look at another aspect. The interest payments are a major consequence of debt accommodation and accumulation. You see, you have to pay interest when you owe that. So it has the government has to pay. So government must make interest payments on the debt similar to the households. You borrow money or get a mortgage, and if you have seen, it is always almost 90% interest and 10% goes towards removal of the principal. When I came to Canada, we had a mortgage, and my wife was looking after the accounts and everything, and she said, look here, 3 months we have paid. This is ridiculous. And at that time, the interest was 7.5%. And the bank was paying us practically nothing on our investments. It was hardly 2%. So we went to the bank, told them, okay, look here, we want to cancel the mortgage. They said, you have to give us 2 months interest. I said, okay, take it. It's better than to pay you forever, keep on paying the interest only. No, I'm not done. So government also have to pay the interest like that. You buy a car, you buy a house, you credit card spending, the interest is almost 20%. So revenues directed towards interest payment means that in future the money available would be less, and tax cuts of the government programs like health care, education, and social services, naturally they will suffer. So it's the customer, the consumer, the ordinary citizen who is going to suffer for the harebrained policies of the government. Now the federal and the provincial government must develop long-term plans for meaningful address to the growing debt problem in Canada. But then, would they do it? There are 4 major things which have to be seen. A, we always say that the international students get us a lot of money. Yes, they do. But is the money accumulated going to the proper end? The colleges and the universities which have, say, more than 10% of the international students, their tax rates should be increased. They are getting something which is because of the policies of the government and the help. So they should pay. Why can't those people who are earning extra money, the teaching is the same for the local students and for the international students. So their cost is the same. But this is an unearned profit. And in unearned profit, the tax should be 70%, 75% even. 25% is sufficient on unearned income. So if they are asked to pay 75%, it will take care of your interest payment. One simple answer. Secondly, all payments to the refugees must be stopped forthwith. There should be nothing. They have come. You have given them refuge. Isn't that sufficient? But you want to pamper them. As I told once in my comments, that what we pay to the seniors is less than what we pay to the refugees. For example, you give them a new furniture every 2 years. Why? They live in five-star hotels or in houses without making any payment. Why? This is, in fact, robbing Peter to pay Paul. The citizens of a country have more claim than, than the refugees. Yes, they need compassion. I don't deny it. Give them compassion, give them empathy, give them the bare minimum. I read in the news that they were objecting to the staying in the hotel. Well, this hotel is not that, I don't want it. They were given a house. No, I don't want to go there because it's in a distant place. I want to be in Toronto only. What nonsense. What nonsense, I repeat. And the government's come to it. So the whole thing, the payment to the refugees, the social order, disabilities, yes, they must be paid. I'm not denying it. But to pay unnecessarily, then the foreign aid, looking at that we owe $2 trillion, we must slash foreign aid programs on which we spend billions and billions every year. And one program slashing and one increase in tax would make us debt-free in 2 years. That's it. But are we willing to take action? No. Prime Minister Harper was very pragmatic. He was not thinking of elections when he took the decisive action and said, no, I'll do what's good for the country. The present government is more concerned with winning votes. And I don't blame them because this is a policy all over. Look at what President Biden is doing. Practically given a free kit to the illegal immigrants. You wait for years, even ordinary tourist visa, you wait for more than 2 years to get that. But being illegal, and you are pampered. This sort of cheap populism doesn't help the nation. It might help the individual, it might help the party. But the government debt which is there, the national debt which is there, which is $2.1 trillion, that is a burden on you and me. And not only on you and me, but on our coming generations. Even the kids who are not born. Secondly, another thing that can be done is that we have got to prune the government expenses. Every year, the salaries of the politicians go up. Their perks go up. And if you remember, in one lunch in an aircraft, just one lunch of about 100 odd people, cost the government $100,000. That was just one example. So what we have got to do is to cut on the perks of the parliament, parliamentarians, legislators. Their salaries have to be reduced, and the pension. I was aghast. Nowhere does it happen. You be a councillor for a couple of years, you be an MPP, an MP, for a few years, and then you keep on drawing the pension. And that is not adjusted. In good fiscal system, what we do is, say you are drawing a pension, then you get a job. Then the pension is reduced so that your salary, which is covers a part of the pension. Here, there was one classic case of a former defense minister of Canada. He was getting pension as a police detective. He was getting pension as a former army officer, and he was getting full salary of a minister. And now, if he is defeated, he'll keep on getting the pension as a minister as well. So 3 pensions for one is more than the salary of a person. What are we doing? Where's the accounting gone? It's gone all haywire. So your pension schemes of all, especially for these multiple job holders, have to be adjusted. Your welfare activities have to be pruned and made really useful to the community. Your taxation system needs overhaul. Your foreign aid programs need slashing. That's the way salvation is there. Otherwise, people would suffer. Thank you.